All right, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Free. I'm Ryan. I'm the pastor here. So good to be with you this evening. Listen, if you're new with us this evening, or if you just need a reminder of who we are, we're a community for addicts, loved ones of addicts, and spiritual refugees. And what we do here is break the silence of addiction and create space for healing, recovery, and spiritual connection. So welcome to all of you in the house. Welcome to all of you online, sober living houses, different free circles meeting across the country. We're so glad you're with us this evening. And look, we're glad that you can be in other states, other places in the world, and still consider yourself part of this community. So everyone on a count of three in the house say, hello, free people. 1, 2, 3.
Hello, free people.
There you go. Hope y'all feel welcome now. A couple things you might want to know about. Let me pull up my notes here. Oh, Derek, why don't you come up for just a second? I just told him we didn't need him to come up, but now I need him. So we are doing a book study. Did you bring your book?
I don't have my book.
I didn't bring mine either.
Yeah.
That's what kind of leaders we are, all
That's
right?
right.
So listen, we're starting a book study on next Wednesday. Is it next Wednesday? April 7th.
Not this Wednesday, but the following Wednesday.
Okay, so April 7th, it's a Wednesday night, 6-week book study. It'll be from 6:30 to 8. It'll be in person, but we're also opening it up for the online audience. We're going to open it up for Zoom.
Thank you.
Derek, what's the name of the book?
What is it? Tattoos on a Broken Heart?
Tattoos on the Heart. You were
Tattoos on
close.
the Heart, sorry.
Tattoos on the Heart by Gregory Boyle. He's the founder of Homeboy Industries out in LA. Y'all, this was one of my favorite books. There it is. It's on your screen. The Power of Boundless Compassion. This book is going to touch you right at the heart. It's going to make you cry. It's going to make you think in new directions. You are going to love this book. So if you want to be part of that book study and discussion, send us an email at bethewagon@gmail.com. Derek and I will get you on the list.
Please do.
You want to say anything about that?
I read the preface, and it had me in tears because I just connected to my time in prison and learning about gangs and different things. And it's going to be huge. It's going to be something that touches the heart and gives you compassion. Because if there's anything that gave me more compassion in life, it was my lessons I learned in prison and what it was like to go through that. And that's helped me be a kinder, gentler, more loving man.
There you go.
Going to prison, honestly. So it's going to be good. And I can't wait to lead it with this guy.
Yeah,
So,
it's going to be fun, man. I want you all to be a part of it. So let us know. Hit us up 6 weeks starting April 7th.
Awesome.
All right, speaking of Derek, dude, you're just going to steal the show here tonight because I'm going to tell a little bit of a backstory. Derek just celebrated 1 year clean and sober. Yeah. When was that, Derek? Remind us.
February 24th.
February 24th. This is March. So just celebrated a year. This dude's always reaching out, asking what needs to be done at Free. How can he serve? He's been constant at that every single week for several months. Derek, and I hope I'm not saying too much, but I'm just going to say it. He also feels a call, a pulling to be involved and engaged in ministry in some way. So we've been meeting together every single week, and we talk together, we read together, we pray together. And so Derek is starting a new team. This is called the Free Recovery Team. You might want to be a part of it. If you want to be a part of it, watch this video and then come this Wednesday night at 6:30. Check out the video.
My name is Derek, and I'm an alcohol addict in recovery. I'm the new director and team lead of the new Free Recovery Team. And I'm here to talk to you about what this new team is all about. What is recovery? As I see it, it's about service, connection, and gosh darn, it's about having some fun. The Free Recovery Team will be going out into the community to start to recover those lost and let them know there's a safe and loving place to heal. That would be connection. To go out as a team and to serve the community and those in need, that would be the service. And last but not least, to let people know and to show them we have a darn good time in recovery. That would be the fun in making those events come together. If your heart beats to any of those things, or they beat for all of them, I invite you to join Red Rye and I this Wednesday, March 31st at 6:30 p.m. for our first meeting as the Free Recovery Team. I cannot wait, people, to spread some love and joy. We don't do shame here at Free. What better way to start breaking the silence of addiction by getting into action? I love you all so much, and God bless.
If you want to be a part of that, come this Wednesday night, 6:30 p.m., and you'll hear more about the Free Recovery Team and how to be engaged in that. So thanks again, Derek. Glad to have you here. Listen, y'all, the way we start in this community, if you're new with us, if you don't know how we start with celebrations. We celebrate together. We do this together as a community, and we believe that God celebrates with us. God loves to celebrate with us. We lift up all the good stuff happening in our lives, the sobriety anniversaries, the new people here, new babies being born, new jobs being had, just all the things that bring about new life. We celebrate those things. So we do it in-house and we do it online. So I want you all to take a couple of minutes and put your celebrations in the comments like we do each week. Let people, this is your chance to get connected and to be a bit vulnerable. If it feels a bit awkward for you, that's okay. Embrace the awkwardness. Get vulnerable, put it in the comments. If you're in the house, even all the way in the back, you can just say what you're celebrating and I'll repeat it. But let's celebrate together, take a couple minutes and go.
Hello world, wake me up to another good morning, time to go. Got that smile upon my face, 'cause there's excitement in the chase, this I know. Yeah, I'm going for the ride and find myself, I am alive, and I soar. Still I run towards the wind and let the challenge draw me in, 'cause I want more. Oh, we are all looking for adventure. 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 Oh, wake up heart and wake up mind, and see the world is yours to find. And with every passing day there's more, calling you out to explore. Get up and go. There is joy found in the race, and I feel it in the place where I'm free. And I simply can't deny it, that I feel adventure calling out to me. Yeah, we are all looking for adventure. 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 We are all looking for And I'm living free, living free, living free, and I was meant to be. Living free, living free, living free, and I was meant to be. I'm living free, living free.
Boom. Boom. All right. Tammy has joined me this evening. Welcome, Tammy.
Thank you. Hi, everybody.
I
In
act
the
like this
back.
is new, that you don't do it every evening. All right, let's celebrate, shall we? Let's throw some things on the screen. If you weren't here in the house, should we start with a couple of those?
Yeah.
I mean, we won't say all of them, but sobriety and 10 years, 30 days, 4 years.
Yeah.
Lunches and dinners with daughters and sons and new people. A few new people here tonight. Welcome. We're glad you're here.
Who had 10 years? I couldn't see.
Right here. Good stuff. All right, let's celebrate
Awesome.
with our
Good.
online people.
What up, Roy? He says, my mom is responding well with her medication and is doing much better. Continue to keep her in your prayers. Good news, Roy.
Yeah, prayers for your mom continued. Thank you, Roy. Oh, Jennifer Deckard. She wrote a long one here. Christy and I are celebrating one step closer to making it official. Not marriage yet, but Ryan, when we do, we hope you will marry us. You know I'm going to be honored to. But we are one step closer to having our animal rescue up and running, Jack's Furry Tail Rescues. So blessed. So grateful.
did that
Sobriety
way better than I
rocks.
would've.
This would never be happening if I were still drinking and trying to do it on my own. Thank you, God. That's exactly what the sober life gives us. Jennifer, thank you for sharing that with us.
Jen.
And I would love to do y'all's wedding. Seriously.
And Ricky's here. He says, I walked into a store today where I bought plenty of alcohol. It tempted me for a few seconds, but I settled for a root beer instead.
There you go, Ricky. That's how we do it. My son had a root beer today. Layla Murphy says, my granddaughter born on the 11th. Congratulations, Grandma.
New life.
New life. We'll celebrate that. Let's do a couple more.
Dan and Cindy celebrating Derek. You are such an inspiration at Free and in the community. Where's he at?
Oh, and he's
Where'd he
just
go?
walking in
Oh,
the
he
door.
missed it.
Derek, read the
Very
screen.
proud of you. Yeah.
All right, we'll celebrate Derek again. It's on the screen. Thank you, Dan and Cindy, for lifting that up. He walked out during that time. Jason McKissick says, I got my taxes done and paid. We should celebrate that, right? Way to go, Jason.
Good.
We did our taxes last night, too.
Yeah, got that out of the way.
Thank you. There, it's on the screen again. Derek, why don't you read it and feel good about yourself for a moment? We already clapped for you. All right, guys. Hey, if you have more celebrations, you can always put them in the comments, and we will celebrate with you. You don't have to stop just because we're stopping this period now. You can keep on celebrating throughout the week, and we'll do that with you. And something profound happens when literally thousands of people are celebrating with you in our midst. So keep it going. All right, guys. This is week dos. If you don't know Spanish, that's 2. Week 2 of our Letting Go series. The reason we're doing such a short series is because next week there's this little event on the calendar called Easter. So we are going to celebrate new life and resurrection next Saturday. I hope you join us. But before we get there, it's an important time to talk about what are the things you have to let go of to have new life. Take a look at the video. In his book, Populist Saints, Howard Snyder tells the story of Benjamin Titus Roberts. And Benjamin Titus Roberts was on this day riding on a train. It was the late 1870s. B.T. Roberts was a Methodist pastor. He was always traveling, and he was always traveling on this particular train, so much so, he was a frequent traveler, that the conductors allowed him to sit in first class. And on this particular day, there were other passengers sitting in first class. And right before the train was about to take off, 10 well-dressed African-American men and women got on the train and sat in first class. Now, this was slavery only started to be done a few years earlier, so when African-American men and women took their seats in first class, well, it raised some eyebrows. One of the white passengers stood up and he was angry. He started yelling at the black passengers. He started yelling at the conductors. He started calling them awful names, belligerent. And the conductors were trying to calm him down. Sir, I assure you, they have purchased first class tickets and they're allowed to sit in their designated seats. And he just got angrier. He was calling them more awful names, cursing at them. Pastor B.T. Roberts had had enough. He stood up, and the story doesn't tell us exactly what he said, but whatever he said, however he said it, it was enough to shut this dude's mouth and get him to sit down. And they had peace and quiet for the rest of the train ride. You see, what does it look like for you to let go of your complacency? And see, there's a place in the New Testament, it's called the book of James, and it was a letter actually, and there's this place in the letter that states, faith without works is dead. You remember this one? And see, in that moment, it didn't matter what he believed, did it? It didn't matter how much faith he had. If he didn't put that faith into action, what difference would it have made? And see, the cool part to this story is when the train arrived at its final destination and they got off the train, these black African-American passengers, they gathered around Pastor Roberts and they started singing. And we're not told exactly, again, we don't know exactly what song he told, but Pastor Roberts quoted, "It was a most beautiful song." See, it turns out these men and women were the Jubilee singers of Fisk University. They had won international acclaim, introducing white audiences to songs like Steal Away and Swing Low, Sweet Chariot. Remember those songs? I mean, what a gift Benjamin Titus Roberts experienced on that day. And see, I wonder how much beauty, how many gifts do we miss along the way, not because of a lack of faith, but because of a lack of putting that faith into action. And you see a little backstory to that book of James that I was talking about. Again, it's a letter found in the New Testament. And James, he wasn't writing to a particular Jesus movement in the first century or to one particular church or one particular set of Jesus followers. He was writing to this big Jesus movement in the region. And he was a little pissed off with people. Because apparently the dominant thinking in the region in the day was God shows favor to some people but not all people. If you have wealth and status, then God is blessing you and God is showing favor. But if you don't have wealth and status, well then God's not showing you favor. God's not on your side. And James steps in and he says, y'all better stop this mess. This is not who God is. Here's how he says it. James chapter 2, just a few verses. He says, "My brothers and sisters, what good is it if people say they have faith but do nothing to show it? Claiming to have faith can't save anyone, can it? Imagine a brother or sister who is naked and never has enough food to eat. What if one of you said, 'Go in peace, stay warm, have a nice meal'? What good is it if you don't actually give them what their body needs? So faith by itself, if it has no works, is dead. Now someone might claim, you have faith and I have action. But can I see your faith apart from your actions? Instead, I'll show you my faith by putting it into practice and faithful action. See, it's good that you believe that God is one. Ha! Even the demons believe this and they tremble with fear." Here's where he really lays down the gauntlet. "Are you so slow? Do you need to be shown that faith without actions has no value at all?" I mean, these were a people who had become completely complacent. See, y'all, it can be easy to have faith. It can be easy to have all the right head beliefs, as if there's right and wrong here. All the right head beliefs, the right belief system. But what good is it if you don't put it into action? You know, I went to the doctor in 2011. There's a picture of me on a screen. This is what 2011 looked like for Ryan. Yeah, that was approximately 2 years before I got sober. Selah, our oldest daughter, was probably about 1 in that photo. I was fat. Maybe we're not supposed to say that, but I was fat. The doctor told me so, put me in the obese category. I was fat and profoundly unhappy. And see, I had to go to the doctor. And for those of you in active addiction, don't you hate going to the doctor and filling out that form? If you're alcoholic? Because there's always that question on there, how many alcoholic beverages do you consume a week? And y'all know you lie. And you figure out in your mind, what's the best answer here? The doctor's not going to raise eyebrows. And for me, it was, well, it's 2 a day. And then if you figure Friday, Saturday night, you can say 3. So 15 drinks was always a safe bet. And the doctor always said, I'd like to see you get that number down a little bit. I'm like, Doc, if you only knew, it's not 15, it's like 115. But there I am sitting in the doctor. And the reason I was at the doctor is because to go through the ordination process, I'm an ordained United Methodist pastor. To go through the ordination process to become an elder in the United Methodist Church, well, you have to go through this long, drawn-out process, get your Master's of Divinity degree. You're writing lots of papers afterwards for different committees and boards. And whew, it's kind of exhausting. And one of the easy parts is supposed to be going to the doctor and getting your physical exam so you can submit the report to the Board of Ordained Ministry. So, the doctor does his thing like he does. And then he comes back in a room and he has a report written. And on the bottom of the report, there's 3 blank lines and it says additional comments. He could have just left it blank. No, I didn't do that. He wrote 2 words and took up all 3 lines with these 2 words in big, bold, capital letters with asterisks on each side. And he said, lose weight. And I'm like, dang, dude. So I say to the doctor, Doc, listen, I'm not here just to get a physical exam so that I know how I'm doing. See, I got to take this report and I've got to turn it into the Board of Ordained Ministry, and they're over me. And so, for them to see this, it's a little embarrassing. I mean, what do you think about just getting rid of this bottom part? And I said, or maybe just tone it down a little bit, talk about the importance of diet and exercise for all people and how this is a good thing. And y'all, I'm not kidding you. He looks at me square in the eyes and he says, no. You need to lose weight. You're too young to be having these kinds of problems. Fine, Doc, dang. Have a good day, you know what I mean? So it took me another couple years when I got sober. It's amazing what will happen when you stop putting thousands of calories of alcoholic beverage into your body each day. Amazing what happens when you don't wake up with a hangover every morning and you can actually go to places like the gym. So it took me a couple years, but I ended up losing 70 pounds. Now here's the deal. You can go into the gym. I could walk in there and I could just stand there and watch people and I could believe that this stuff works. I believe that it works. I see it in their lives. I mean, look at them. This stuff works. They appear to be somewhat fit and healthy, most of them. This stuff works. But what good would it do if I didn't actually pick up some dumbbells with them and actually step onto the treadmill? What good is it if you have faith without actions? Is it dead? You see, sometimes faith is the easy part, but it's putting it into action that trips us up. Is it right? Did you know there's the phrase faith without works? Faith without works is dead. It's mentioned 3 times in what we call the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. It's mentioned 3 times. It's the first time it's in this section called Bill's Story, and then it's mentioned twice in the chapter called Into Action. And in the middle of this chapter, Into Action, you get a few lines. I want to read them with you. It says, now we need more action, without which we find that faith without works is dead. So let's look at steps 8 and 9. We have a list of all the persons we have harmed and to whom we are willing to make amends. We made it when we took inventory. We subjected ourselves to an easy self-appraisal. I've seen if y'all are listening, that's not what it says. To a drastic self-appraisal. What's that, Danny? Got him. To a drastic self-appraisal. Now we go out to our fellows and repair the damage done in the past. And some of y'all know some of my story on this. This is where I really struggled in my sobriety. This is where Ryan's recovery took a bit of a turn. Because see, I had some people in my life that I didn't know how to make things right. I did not know how to go to them and repair damage. I didn't know how to clean up my side of the street. I knew how to go to them and let them know that their side of the street was messy, that they needed to clean. I knew how to take their inventory. I knew how to tell them, here's what you need to do to make things right. Here's the amends you need to make. But I did not know how to do drastic self-appraisal. Man, that stuff's scary. I mean, who wants to do that? Who wants to look at themselves in the mirror like that? That stuff is scary. And so in that time in my recovery, I became complacent. Faith was about believing the right things, but at that point it didn't take much action on Ryan's part. And so what I did, and I do not recommend this, but I took a little break. I disconnected from my recovery. Spiritually disconnected. Disconnected from the 12 steps and working with my sponsor. And y'all do know this, right? When you disconnect, you can go right back to those same old places of being miserable without picking up a drink or picking up a drug, right? You know this, right? When you disconnect, you can go back to those places of misery without using again. And so some time went by and I picked up the phone and I called my sponsor. I said, yo, look, I'm ready to start doing some work again. I know it's been a while. He said, Ryan, that's great. I'm so pleased to hear this. He said, remind me, where are we with the steps? Well, we're at step 10. And he said, I'm so pleased to hear this, Ryan, because last time we talked, we had the step 8 list, and you were really struggling with those step 8 people and calling them and making amends and meeting with them. And so you made amends to everyone on your list. Y'all know what I said to him? Yeah, some of y'all. I made those amends in my heart. And he says, Ryan, that's not the way this works. Thanks be to God, because I was hearing the voice of God calling me to put this stuff in action because I was miserable again and disconnected again. Yeah, with the help of a sponsor and God and doing some work, I made it through step 9. And you see, I can't tell y'all the freedom, the absolute freedom that came for me, at least after step 9, being cleared of my past. Because now I don't regret the past, nor do I wish to close the door on it. And what I can tell you is I actually know serenity. I can comprehend that word. I know a new peace, and Ryan didn't have peace before that. I know those things now. And let me also be clear. God will love you whether or not you take those steps or don't take those steps. God loves you whether there's action or no action at all, because God's love isn't dependent on you. God loves fully no matter what, because God is love, period. You don't have to add anything to it. There's nothing more you can do to get God to love you any more or any less, because God already loves you exactly as you are. There's no additions. But listen, some of you guys have been complacent in your faith journey. You've held the spiritual stuff, the God stuff, you've held it way out here, you've kept it at a distance, and maybe you've been told somewhere along the way or on your own, you created this image of God where God is angry with you and God's just waiting to pounce on you every time you get it wrong. And it's a God who condemns you at every turn. Or maybe you've bought into the thinking that you've told yourself, yeah, there might be a higher power out there somewhere. There might be a God up there somewhere, but this God is not active in the world today. This God is not concerned about the things here and now. And I get it. Or for some of you, I know that free spiritual community, it has become your last stop. It is your last chance with the God stuff, because you have been burned too many times by church. You've been burned by religion. And listen, Christian folk and religious folk, let's get honest for a moment. Let's own our stuff, because for too many years, we have made it exactly about having the right head belief, having the right belief system. If you believe the right things about God and Jesus up here, then God is somehow giving you the ticket into the pearly gates when you die, and it becomes all about life after this life, and God isn't involved in the here and now. And for some of you, your belief system stopped lining up with the institution, and you were kicked to the side, you were told you didn't belong, and you were condemned. I'll close with this. There's a beautiful story found in John's Gospel, again in the New Testament. And it's a story about a woman who was caught in the act of adultery, caught by religious leaders. Man, we love to catch people, don't we? Love to catch people in the wrong. And they begin publicly humiliating this woman. They drag this woman to Jesus and they say, Jesus, we caught her doing this wrong. Doesn't the law tell us to condemn her? Doesn't the law tell us to stone her, literally pick up rocks and throw them at her until she's dead? The law allows it, right, Jesus? And Jesus bends down to the ground. And he starts writing in the ground with his finger in the dirt. And no one knows. The text doesn't tell us what he was writing. Scholars debate this. And I think it's real simple. I think Jesus was writing, God doesn't do shame. And then he stands up and he looks at these religious leaders and he says, you who don't have any sin, go ahead, pick up the stone and be the first one to throw the stone. And they get all angry and disappointed and they drop their stones and they walk away. And then he looks at this woman in the eyes and he says, has anyone condemned you? In other words, have you been officially sentenced? Have you been punished yet? And she says, no, sir, not by anyone. And then he says some of the most beautiful words we find in Scripture. He says them to this woman. Then neither do I condemn you. You see, it's Jesus saying to the crowds, for everyone to overhear him, that's not who God is. God isn't into shame and guilt and punishment. Draw near to this God. This God is good. You can be with this God. Go in peace. You see, my brothers and sisters, what would it look like for you to let go of your complacency and to keep taking steps towards the God who says, I do not condemn you, I love you. And see, the number one thing that will keep you from taking action in your faith and drawing near to this God is a failure to deal with your past. And when I say deal with your past, I don't mean reliving in your past and rehashing it and staying there, but I mean dealing with your past, because your past has everything to do with your present. Because see, if you don't deal with your past, you end up holding on to all the baggage, all the fear, all the resentments, all the old ideas. And see, when we're holding on to those things, we're not fully accepting of God's transformative, redemptive love into our lives. We're stuck in fear, the past, the condemnation. So I want you to take just a moment and reflect, as we do here. Reflect, what would it look like for you to let go of the complacency, to take steps towards this God, not the God who says, I condemn you, I can't wait to punish you, but the God who says, no, we don't do that. It doesn't work. It doesn't change people. Love is what changes and transforms people. What would it look like for you today to let go of the complacency? Take a moment, reflect. All right, welcome back, everybody. I was just reading some of the comments as we were reflecting. Molly Ann King said, it would take forgiving myself. Yeah, you can do that. You can actually let that stuff go. Right, Derek? Derek knows something about it. You can let that stuff go. It's the Greek word aphiemi, to cast out, to release, so that something new can happen. Yeah, it's not about doing shame on others only. It's about not doing shame on ourselves either, isn't it? So keep on reflecting. Keep comments coming in if that helps you process, and keep lifting one another up as we do in this community. Speaking of lifting one another up, I want to introduce to you our guest storyteller in the house. Many of you know this man. His name is Andrew, also goes by Drew Bickford. He's the lead of our tech team. He's been involved in this community for a long time. Wow, he knows I wasn't expecting that. 2 years and some odd months he's been involved here. And listen, Andrew has done so much for this community. He's helped build the website, the app. He's in the back every Saturday night behind the scenes making things happen. He's the very first person here, usually on Saturdays, usually the last one to leave. And this dude is a servant leader. He's also a recovering alcoholic. 4 years, right, Andrew?
No fronts. April 5th.
April 5th, he's going to have 4 years, God willing. No fronts, he's in this community. And he's also, y'all, here's why I wanted him to speak tonight. He's also a spiritual refugee. He's been burned by church and religion. And I want you to hear how he's finding God. I want you to hear what his journey looked like as a recovering alcoholic, to let go of the complacency and take steps towards a God who's full of love. So help me welcome to the table Drew Bickford, ladies and gentlemen. Drew, welcome, man.
Hey.
Where's my coffee? Here's my coffee. Dude, do you have coffee? Do you need any water or anything?
I forgot my water.
Someone bring this man some water from the back.
I had one up there. So, hey guys. Hi.
Say hi to Mom.
Mom.
There you
Hi,
go. I
Mom.
knew it was coming.
It is actually really confusing.
See,
think
now
you have
you
it
know what I
down.
go through every week.
Woo!
Y'all in the back are going to give
That's
us
why
some
they
more
pay
grace
the
up
big
here.
bucks, man.
All right, listen, Drew. Where do I start? Let me start with this. Drew, in fact, I'm just going to read the text. I was just pulling it up, and I may skip around because it's kind of a lengthy text. Drew texted me last Saturday night. He said it's been a very difficult week. My next text back to him was, I'm sorry it's been difficult. Will you share your story this week? And I did that because part of me knows Drew well enough where I could do that. There you go, brother. And the other part was, I know that when we have difficult weeks, that's sometimes the best time to step up in our service and to share with others and ways to get into our hearts and out of our heads. So that's why Drew's here. I mean, there's lots of reasons you're here. That's one of the reasons I asked you to be here this Saturday. But the text he sent last Saturday night at 10:52 p.m.
Because I was the last one out.
You were.
Saturday.
And I was dead serious when I
For
said
the
that.
record.
He said, just want you to know your message tonight struck me and I needed to hear it. I also want you to know this week was one of the hardest weeks of my life, and I've been through a lot of death and grief, but this one really hit close to home for me. I don't know what it is in the recipe that is keeping, I don't know what it is in the recipe that is keeping me alive and sober, but you and Tammy and Free are a part of that recipe, and without it, I would be dead. So thank you. Seriously, can't say enough about what it's like to go through living hell and then walk through the doors of a place we don't even own and be set free and sent home, both metaphorically and literally speaking. To be given the opportunity to be a part of something like this has been a gift I could have never imagined possible for me to receive, and yet I did nothing but show up and receive it. Can I read the last sentence about you hating Denver? I hate Denver and you guys. No, hold on, I read that wrong.
Whoa.
I hate Denver, comma is what you meant to say, and you guys make me want to move there.
Hey.
So bad. So again, thank you. I will see you soon. Have a great week, my dude. And then I said, my dude, would you, I'm so grateful for you. Will you share your story this week?
Yep.
So that's one of the reasons you're
Punchline.
here. Let's start there. It was a difficult week.
It was.
And I don't know what details you want to share or what ones you want to leave out, but I want people to know, how do you make it through a difficult week and not pick up a drink?
That's a great question, Ryan. First of all, I'm grateful you asked me to speak tonight. This is what we do. You know, it's fitting this is the topic, and that you asked me right after I said something like that. You know, like, this has been the hardest week of my life, so I'm going to volunteer myself. You know what I'm saying? And that's what it's all about. But I lost a good friend of mine. Actually, we call her Auntie Brow Slayer. Her name was Amber, and she passed away unexpectedly at the beginning of March. She had 3 kids, all under the age of 12. So. She was a big part of my life. She helped me out a lot with my daughter being born, and I was not expecting it. You know, in recovery, my sponsor told me, you know, when I got sober, he said, buy a suit because you're gonna need to go to a lot of funerals, and that's been my reality. You know, I'm not trying to be harsh, but that's been my experience, and you know, there's something to be said about an unexpected death to someone that, you know, close to you. And really what's cool about the tools I've been given is the same thing that got me out of my own prison is the same thing that sets me free today. It's the same simple set of tools that I've been given that I have to have beat into my head by the people that love me, even when I'm not ready to love myself. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it really does. It takes constantly showing up for me to be able to hear that message through my thick skull. You know, I talk myself out of everything, and it really takes showing up, and that's it, you know, and God takes care of the rest. It really is. It's been a beautiful thing to watch the people around me love me and pick me up and take care of me when maybe, you know, I'm not having what people would consider to be like the pink cloud of sobriety. You know, like that bubble pops, and when it does, I need people like you guys to pick me up.
So Drew, help people understand and we do this most weeks. I want people to get a picture of what it was like for you, what active addiction was like, because you could have been, I mean, when you have a difficult week and you go back to picking up or using whatever it is, you could be back to right where you were almost 4 years ago.
Right.
Tell people what it was like.
Yeah, so when I got sober, I had a sponsor at the time. I was really struggling. I had no job. I was not hireable. I bought the NHL package, and I was gonna watch it in my basement until I died. And I drank almost, you know, a gallon of vodka a day, I think I was up to. But so I called my sponsor at the time, and I said, I really appreciate you. I love you. I'm calling it quits. I'm gonna die now. I'm gonna call it quits. And when what's wild is somehow, some way, I landed up in Parker Valley Hope in April of 2017. Now I was really drunk. Apparently I blew like a .3 something, and they made me retake my intake when I was sober. But what blew their mind is I actually, by the end of the second intake, they were like, "Man, those details match exactly. Like, you belong here." You know what I'm saying? You're blowing a .3 and having a coherent conversation.
How'd that make you feel?
Yeah, it was great. It was great. So anyway, so I showed up there, right? And it was by no design of my own. And that's what's beautiful about it. And you know, because of that, I had nothing, you know.
Yeah.
And all I did was, you know, because of the destruction alcohol had done to me in my life, I had no other ideas in my system, you know. So what I did is I went to a meeting when I got out of treatment, and I raised my hand in the meeting and said, I'm new and I need a sponsor. That was it. You know, it was just show up and do my life.
So I was going to ask you
it.
that, because when we talk about showing up, there are some concrete ways to show
That's
up.
it.
And oftentimes it's a very physical thing, right? I mean, you're physically showing up, and it's also something simple like raising your hand. Hey, I need help. Hey, I need a sponsor. Hey, I can't do this alone. I'm dying. Right?
Well, and that's faith. That's faith in works, right? I had faith that in something. I didn't know it at the time. You know, all of this is all retrospect. It really is. At the time, I didn't want to die. That was it. And today, the same tools that kept me from dying are the tools that keep me out of my own insanity. And that was it. It was literally just, I need help one day at a time.
So tell us a little bit more about how did you have to put some sort of faith into action, and then some sort of God encounter happened?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Tell
Yeah,
us.
So, this is a really fitting topic for my story because I'm an intellectual type, right? I've been kicked around by a religion. I had been baptized under the influence of narcotics, and I really just, by the way, that did not work for the people out there. You may find a different experience, but that was mine.
Say it again for the people in the back.
For the people in the back. But anyway, so I had this experience, right? I had this idea. And alcohol shattered it for me. And the way that showed up tangibly in my life was at first it was that hand up, right? And then it was that phone call to the guy that came up to me after that meeting. You know what I'm saying? It took a tangible step towards something.
Yeah.
And at the time I didn't know what it was, right? It was a tangible phone call. That's what I thought. But that is a tangible step towards God and away from myself, right?
So, and what images did you have of God? I always think it's curious, like before people get sober, I hear of a lot of people talk about God was angry, God was disappointed, God hated me. Did the image of God for you change along the way?
It did. And at first it was, if there's a God, it's not for me, right? And
How'd that work out for you, Drew?
If there's a God, it's not for me. And that's what I told myself. But when I went through the step work with my sponsor, I found, and pages 60 to 63 of the big book describe me to a T. And at the end of that section, it says, we had to quit playing God. It didn't work.
Yeah.
And that was it. I was God. I was my God. And so that's where it started. And then as I started the steps, I started to intellectualize as God. I was like, all right, I'm going to grab some Jesus. I'm going to grab some Buddha. I'm going to grab some of this. These concrete, like philosophical, like what I thought was religion and God and spirituality and faith, right?
Yeah.
I thought there was no tangibility to it. But I had a great sponsor. He said, let go of your own ideas. They're going to kill you. Do the steps, and you'll find God whether you want to or not. And so that was my experience. I did one step, one action, one breath, Ryan, at a time. All through the suggestions of a man I trusted. And in that process, I found a God of my own understanding. And it was deep. And I didn't even know it was happening while it was happening, man.
Yeah.
It was
The best
wild.
kinds of miracles. That is how people talk about the best kinds of miracles. You don't realize it's happening. You don't realize they're miracles at the time. It's when you look back and say, oh my goodness, how did that happen? Oh my goodness, I used to be this and now I'm this. I want people to understand, Drew, here and in that camera, or maybe it's this camera. Is it this camera, Danny? Sorry, I was wrong. You should know this, Drew. Yeah, see? There's people, I want them to hear what free has meant to you and how free, you do consider yourself in the category of spiritual refugee.
Absolutely.
For people thinking, man, I don't know if I want to be a part of some sort of church community. I don't know if I want to open myself to get burned again. And those people hurt me before, and I don't want to open my heart to other people. And I don't know about this God stuff. Maybe they're saying exactly what Drew said, this God stuff. Yeah, maybe he exists, but he ain't for me. What do you say to people who are on the fence of like, is this community, is there something to it?
Yeah, man. So what I'll say is when I came to Free, I came chasing the wrong things and the wrong ideas. And I wanted to prove that there was only one way to God, right? And that's really what I came here for, to be totally honest with you. And the second I stepped in the door, it changed my life forever. So I'll say to the people out there struggling, I did feel that way, and I still tell myself the same lies. Like this disease that some people call alcoholism that I have, it tells me lies. Those lies don't go away. So to those people out there struggling, I'm with you. I'm with you. But it goes back to what I learned in my sobriety through the steps. All of this stuff up here, it doesn't matter. Just show up. That's all I did. I let all of my thoughts run through my head the entire time I was here. I've seen people come in here totally blasted out of their mind. And then I see them come back with a year. You know what I'm saying? So
It's true.
So to you people out there, you belong if you think it's not for you. And I tell people this all the time, but they'll come in, hey buddy, and they come in and they go, man, something feels different. And so that's what happened to me. I came here once and something felt different. And you know, a couple baptisms later, you know, getting on the leadership team. This is the guy that would sit there and philosophically doctrine you why religion did not work, right? And this isn't religion. And that's what I found when I came here. This is not religion. This is love. This is God.
Oh, thanks. Someone tweet that out.
This is love right here. And there's no other experience like it. And I've even seen people virtually. I sit back there and I see all of your guys' comments, by the way. So give me something to giggle at back there, if you would. But there are people that have been profoundly impacted virtually by this community right here.
Yeah.
Not even by him. Not even by, well, sometimes. Maybe on Tuesdays. But no, seriously, saved lives. So that's why I keep coming back. And the whole Jesus God thing, it fits its way in whether I think it will or not. It just shows up, man.
I love it.
So Abram went.
So, you know what? So
Abram
thank you
went.
so much for being here tonight.
Of course.
Drew calls me. We talked, what was it, yesterday? He says, dude, I think
we're
I'm getting
together.
that. Can I tell him this?
Do it.
The tattoo?
Do
'Cause I
it.
might get it with him.
Do it.
He said, I think I'm going to get that tattooed on me. So Abram went. Do y'all remember from Genesis? I think, was this last week we talked about this?
It
2 weeks ago?
was.
3 weeks? I don't know. It was a while back.
It was.
So Abram went, stepped into a new thing, being called to step out of an old path and onto a new path. Genesis, shoot.
3, 4, something, 12?
12.
That sounded
Genesis
great.
12:8, I think, is what it is.
In my head.
So Abram went. Let's
Yeah.
go get the tattoo, man.
Yeah, do the 12 steps and then say that quote to yourself in the mirror. It's pretty cool. Take my
love
word
it.
for it and then try it.
Thank you, Drew, for being with us, brother.
Of course, dude.
Hey, if you got questions for Drew, if you've got, I should sit back down so I'm in the camera. If you've got any questions or comments for Drew, he will be in the back, engaging as free, because Drew is one of those radicals, okay? He doesn't have social media. I know, can you believe it? It's like he almost doesn't exist. You know what else I love about Drew? Drew, if I can just lift you up a minute, brother. Every single week before I leave, I say, thank you, Drew. I'm so grateful for everything you do here. And I'm not kidding you. Every single week, he says, it's changing my life. Just serving here. So if you're thinking, man, should I serve in this community? I don't know, talk to Drew, see if you want your life to be changed. What I know is when you start serving other people and you start giving of yourself, your life changes somewhere along the way. You start encountering God in new ways. So plug, hint, if you want to be of service to this community, show up and clean some toilets or some windows or something. Start getting out of yourself to find God in new ways. Thank you, Drew. I love you, brother. Thank you for sharing some of your story with us. Man, I don't even know where we are in this service. I think we're to heartaches now. It's how we end things. It's how we close things down at Free, just like we do celebrations. What's that? Yes. I want to get there in just a moment. We close things here at Free with heartaches, just like we do with celebrations. And the reason for this is because I know many of you carry burdens throughout the week that you have no business carrying on your own. You cannot carry this heavy stuff on your own. You need a community. You need your brothers and sisters around you to carry with you. We pray. We have a prayer team here at Free that lifts you up during the week. If you put something in the comments or you say something here, we're going to pray for you throughout the week. Jason, raise your hands so people know you. Jason leads his prayer team. He keeps us in line. He sends us an email every week and a little devotion and every name, and we pray for you. We connect with you throughout the week. And listen, y'all, I know this week particularly, it's been a heavy week. We've had another mass shooting, another massacre here just 30, 40 miles from here in our neighboring town of Boulder. And it rocks people, doesn't it? Makes you ask all the questions again, doesn't it? This week I've had conversations and phone calls and hearts breaking of addiction, suicide, overdose, brokenness. And at some level you ask, are things ever going to change? I mean, on my most pessimistic days, are we even making a difference? So guys, I want to start, and I know this is a bit of a heavy time, but we had a fallen soldier this week. Some of y'all remember Anthony Gonzalez. Anthony was a cool dude, man. He was here before the pandemic hit. He was here every single week. Anthony passed away, I believe it was Wednesday evening, unexpectedly, suddenly. You know what he said of free? I found a quote that he said of free on January 22nd of 2020. He said, free is a place where I can be me. Free is a place where we can just be, and that's what free is. Every single Saturday night he walked through the doors, that dude had a big smile. That dude gave the biggest hugs. So I start tonight with the heartache that this community carries and our brothers and sisters at Ready to Work. And Jamie, if you're watching, I know your heart's just breaking into some pieces, and friends and family of Anthony. Yeah, he's gone too soon. So let's lift his family and community in prayers as they grieve yet another fallen one in this community. So I want you to take a couple moments, just as we do with celebrations, and give us the heartaches, so we can lift one another up, because you do not have to walk this journey alone. You can't do it. It's too heavy. Addicts and alcoholics and loved ones of addicts and alcoholics, you tried it. It doesn't work, does it? So get vulnerable. Give us your heartaches, the things that are bringing you down, the things that are causing suffering. Put them in the comments. Here in the house, we'll say them out loud, or put them in the comments on Facebook or YouTube. And we'll come back in just a moment. Sorry to hear that. Prayers for your mom, prayers for you. All right, y'all. Sorry we were heartaching it up here in the house, so welcome back. Tammy's going to join me again. And little buddy's going to play. These wheels are fun, aren't they? He's like, but why isn't the wagon moving? Just the wheels are moving.
Little buddy be in the wagon over here.
All right, shall we?
Yeah.
And just so y'all, well, we won't repeat any here, but lots of heartache in the house, and I know y'all are dealing with it too. So we'll read a few to let the community in on it.
Do you want to take that one?
You want me to take this one? Jennifer says, prayers needed for a good friend of mine. He is suffering from dementia. Spoke with his daughter, and she said he doesn't even recognize himself in the mirror. Breaks my heart. The last time I spoke with him on the phone, he asked me who I was. Please pray for Barry and his family. Thank you, Jennifer, for lifting up Barry and his family. We're lifting them up with you. Thank you for sharing that.
And Christy says, prayers for Jen's brother Dino. Please, God, keep him safe and heal him. Allow him to open his heart to those who love him. Prayers for Dino.
Kim Johnson.
Hey, Kim. Kavita and me, we spent some time with Kim here at Free, so it's good to see you on
right.
here, Kim.
Kim says, sorry, that was a fuzzy in the air that I'm seeing. Kim says, I probably look crazy on camera. Kim says, prayers for my 17-year-old daughter, Regan. She needs surgery for a torn ACL and also continues to struggle with severe depression. Teenage years are tough enough right now, so it's a lot to handle. Yeah. Kim, thank you for sharing that with this community. Mental health, it's an issue we have to continue to talk about here. It's why we keep doing the work here. Prayers for your daughter, Regan, and surgery coming up. Reagan. Thank you, Kim, for sharing that with us.
Hey, Leslie, I love your new picture there, too. Prayers for my boss, Al. Leslie shared this earlier with me. He has COVID and was in the hospital for 3 weeks. He's back in with water in his lungs. Pray for his daughter, Gina, as she lost her mom this November. Yeah, some heavy stuff there.
Thank you, Leslie, for sharing that with us. Tina. Hi, Tina. Tina says, please pray for my brother, Jeremy. The downward spiral just gets worse with isolation. It's bad. The family just has to wait and pray. It's hard to believe it will ever change. Thank you for sharing that with us, Tina. Praying for your brother, Jeremy, and the heartache that brings. Prayers for him, prayers for you, prayers for the family, too.
I don't know this is a prayer, but you're so sweet, Roy. We need to keep Ryan and Tammy in our prayers. It's not easy giving and giving. God, please fill them with overflowing measure. Thanks, Roy.
Thank you, Roy. And we pray for y'all. Molly Ann King says, prayers for my continued journey of recovery, as this past week marked a year since my mental breakdown. Prayers that I continue to rebuild burned bridges from my past. Molly, thanks for sharing that with this community. I know you did a really powerful social media post on that mental breakdown, and it was you being vulnerable and you opening your heart so that I believe others can heal, and you're showing them they're not alone. So thank you for your journey. Continued prayers for you. I'm so glad you join us each week. So glad you're here. All right, y'all, speaking of not journeying alone, it's why I said I was going to share the wagon story this week. It's been a while, hasn't it? Y'all need to hear the wagon story because it's why we don't do this journey alone. The wagon is a central image in this community, and it's been a central image since day one. It joined us in our backyard at our very first gathering, and then it traveled all the way to this building, and it's going to go with us when we move because the wagon, it's tattooed on my other side of my neck. The wagon. You know, it was probably 4 years ago now, maybe even 5 years ago. I was out in L.A. at the rescue mission in L.A., the L.A. Rescue Mission. It's called the Union Rescue Mission, actually, several floors high. It gets bigger every time I tell the story. I think it's only 3 floors. I like to say several, all right? The fish I caught was this big. So I was taking a tour with some other people and the executive director, and he took us to the top floor where they keep pictures of their memorabilia. And one of the central images on the wall was this picture of a wagon, a black and white photo. And I said, dude, what's the story with the wagon? He says, you don't know the story of the wagon? No, but apparently I need to. He says, dude, I got to tell you the story. It's how we got started here. It's how this place started in the late 1800s. This wagon would go to inner city LA, the roughest parts of LA, and it would bring hope and food and clothing and Bibles and other things. And then at the end of the night, the wagon would welcome people to get on the wagon and head back to a place of recovery. Now, what happens when you get a bunch of drunk people on a wagon? They fall off, and David says it's always a good time. But they do fall off, some of them. But here's what's cool. When they would fall off, this wagon would stop and pick up those who had fallen and put them back on because they knew where they were headed. They were headed to a place of healing and recovery. And when I heard that story, I said, that is the church at its best. If we can do that mission whenever we start something new, I don't even know if we're ever starting something new, but if we do, that's what I want it to be about. So the wagon is a central image of this community because we do not do shame. We do not kick the wounded. We do not shun. We do not push away. We say, you're welcome. Let's get back on it. Let's head to healing, spiritual connection, and recovery together. It's what we're about here at Free. Now on the wagon, we have a donation box. It's actually a Kleenex box, but we turned it into a donation box. And there's other donation boxes scattered throughout the Free premises. If you would like to give, I encourage you to give in one of those boxes, or there's other ways to give. And I need to say this, your giving, your generous giving is what sustains the mission here. And there's 3 other ways to give I want to share with you. You can do it all online on the Free app. It is free to download. You can give there. Or you can go to the website freespiritualcommunity.com/give and you could give there. Or you can text the number on your screen. Text to them, Be the Wagon, and it'll walk you through some instructions. Y'all, we are so grateful. Every time we open the mail, every time we look in the donation boxes, every time y'all give. And I know for many of you, it is a spiritual practice to give. And it doesn't matter how much it is. Some of you give, and it's just on a regular basis, and it's little, but it's sacrificial. And seriously, y'all, we can't thank you enough for that. It keeps the mission sustained here, and not just sustained, but thriving. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So I think on that note, we should go out with a little prayer, shall we? What's that? Third step. We're going to go out with the third step prayer tonight. All right, y'all. Now I remember being in early recovery and sitting in some 12-step meetings and thinking, how does everyone have this incredibly hard prayer memorized? And I don't know, it happens somewhere along the way. You say it enough times, you can memorize it. If you don't have it memorized, it's right here above me. So for those of you facing that way, you can have an easy read. Or it will be on your screen if you need it there. It's a beautiful prayer, so I encourage you to open your hands. It's a sign of openness. It's inviting God in. It's letting God into our lives. It's giving up the complacency, taking some action with the third step. And it goes like this. God, I offer myself to Thee to build with me and to do with me as Thou wilt. Relieve me of the bondage of self, that I may better do Thy will. Take away my difficulties, that victory over them may bear witness to those I would help of Thy power, Thy love, and Thy way of life. May I do Thy will always. Amen. And to you, my free brothers and sisters, may you remember, God doesn't do shame. We don't do shame. What would it look like for you to give up, to let go of the complacency and take steps towards the God who is full of redemptive and transformative love? And on that note, my brothers and sisters, may you go in all kinds of grace and peace. We will see you next time.